You matter. If we know you, you matter. If we don't know you, you matter. The point is, you matter. I am Mo. I'm the host of the Third String Morning Show at 97.7 QLZ. Joining me on the stream today, she is the queen of the Chicago, Illinois chapter of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Is that correct?
You could call me Associate Area Director or Your Highness. I do answer to either. Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. All right. And we were hoping and planning to create a series of these mental health topics to hopefully be able to help people through what has been some very interesting times.
Right. Yes, definitely mental health has been at the forefront of everyone's mind, as it always should be, but it's now really out there in the public. People are talking about it more openly. And so this podcast just makes a lot of sense, whereas before maybe we weren't quite as open about talking about it with each other, having podcasts. It's like always on our mind because we don't have very many other places to go and we haven't in a while. So this is a great series and I'm happy to be part of it.
And a lot of the times that I've been able to have the honor of talking to Angela, it has been with radio restrictions. So we've had to be able to get the conversation within a certain amount of time. Great thing about podcasts is we're able to stretch that out. There will be a different theme each and every single week. We figured as the new year has rolled in and students are returning to school or returning to their home office to attend school, we should address the matter. And joining us, Angela, can you give us an introduction of our next guest?
Sure. So I'll let actually introduce himself a little more, formally. However, he is a board member for our AFSP Illinois chapter, and he is Phil Martinez, and he is a mental health professional. And I'll kind of let him speak for his own credentials, maybe.
Phil.
Hi, Mo. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for having us, Mo. My name is Phil Martinez. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor here in the state of Illinois, which means I do a lot of clinical work, in-office work, and I work primarily with high school and college-age students. So you can say my business has been a little booming recently because things have been really busy, as I'm sure we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I've been doing this for about 25 years now. I've been volunteering with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for about 15 years, and I just recently joined the board last year. So it's a passion project for me. I'm very, very invested in not just helping the professional, the kids in my life, but also on a personal level. This is something that has touched me close to home as well.
Absolutely. And I think that goes without saying. I think anybody that has taken a part of one of these discussions, an out of the darkness walk, anything like this, you become engrossed in it and you never want to leave it. You want to continue doing more and more. And that's why Angela and I continue to work together on these podcasts. But Phil, since you are the professional here, where do we start? Like, how many students would you say are affected by depression here in early 2021?
You know what the reports that we're seeing are telling us that nearly half of college and high school students are reporting some form of depression or anxiety or not feeling well. So that's a pretty staggering number when you think about it. I mean, we knew in the last 20 years, those numbers have been progressively going up, but the spikes that we've seen during the pandemic because of the social isolation, the limited schooling resources, the limited social ability, I mean, we just see the numbers just creeping up and up and up there, where it's like, so nearly half of one out of every two students is reporting something going on there.
Wow, that is absolutely alarming. Angela, you're a parent yourself. Have you seen this firsthand?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my children are not thriving in the at-home learning environment. They're making do, they're doing okay, but they talk to us pretty frequently about feelings of isolation, loneliness. There's a loss of independence for sure, because your mom's always there to make sure that you're doing your work. I mean, they haven't even walked to school by themselves in months, and they're not really walking anywhere else by themselves. So there's just kind of this autonomy that's being lost as well. Definitely it's boring to be working out of your basement every day and not seeing your friends. So it's just the boredom, the isolation, the lack of social interaction, loss of independence. Definitely I'm hearing that here as well, just anecdotally with my own children.
Now, of course, with what you do, I would assume that you see the signs and you're able to kind of pull that out of your children a little bit. However, Phil, I'm sure you come across a lot of students that don't know how to express this.
Yeah, a lot of people, they're often, and so often in teenagers especially, we see depression, frustration, anxiety come out as anger, and so all of a sudden he's oppositional defiant, or he's got some sort of a disorder where he's anger management issues. And it turns out more often than not is we're dealing with some level of anxiety or even depression there. Which can be so prevalent of all those numbers that I was talking about before, the nearly half students. A quarter of those high school and college students have reporting knowing someone who's contemplated suicide. So again, you do the multiplication there, and those are just astounding numbers. So so many of them don't know what to do. So they not only don't know what to do, they don't even know who to talk to sometimes. Even as thorough and as terrific as college campuses are in providing mental health services today than they were, say, even 10 or 15 years ago. I read there were up to 40% of students who felt that they could not go to, either they did not know of counseling services, they didn't know the extent, they didn't know the privacy policy, or they just didn't even know it existed in some cases, which is frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know where to begin with this question, but where do people begin to get this help? So when you see a student who is acting out, maybe channeling it through anger, what's the usual process?
Well, even before they get to my office, the people who usually know are the ones who see them every day. And that's usually their peers, their friends, which again is presenting a complication these days because they're not seeing as many peers and friends. It's so much easier to isolate these days. But peers, friends, instructors, on Zoom, it's really hard to pick up on those social cues, that kid who's shying away more often than not. Parents, of course, adult leaders, coaches or tutors, people like that who will note a difference in normal behavior. And what they'll do is that's when you ask questions. And very often people who are struggling, they may not know they're letting you on, but they are letting you in, with whether they're walking in with a downcast face, or they have a sullen mood, or they just don't seem themselves. It's always okay to ask that question. Hey, you don't seem okay today. How are you doing? And so having someone there to talk to before they ever step into my office, whether it's a peer or a trusted adult or an instructor or someone of that nature.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I know I'm not a professional, but I've dealt with mental health and depression and anxiety for quite some time. And I've learned in my brief classes that asking questions is good. Just trying to get it out of people, because a lot of times they just want acknowledgement. They want somebody to know that they're in pain and want somebody to care. Angela, let's say one of your children has a friend who is acting out of sorts. How would you, as a parent, handle the situation?
Well, I mean, as a matter of fact, that's a very, very real situation. That's a not hypothetical situation. My youngest child has a friend who even in the Zoom realm, they've been managing to have like meetups and play Minecraft together and do some things in Steam. They're still socializing, and they're managing to meet at the park if the weather allows, with their masks on, if at all possible. And this little guy just wasn't showing up for anything. He wasn't showing up for the Zoom meetings. He wasn't showing up at the park. He was really, really just withdrawing. And when he did reach out, he was being a little bit, as my son would call it, he's just annoying me. He's being kind of whiny, and I was like, right, okay, but that's his way of asking for help. So again, being kind of in the mental health realm and in this field, I was able to sort of redirect him and say, I believe he probably needs you to reach out to him even more, even though what you're feeling right now is annoyance, and he doesn't show up. He never plays with us. He never shows up at the park. When he does, he complains that nobody ever reaches out to him. You've got to reach out to him even more. The more he's annoying you, probably the more help he actually needs. So I just said, take some extra time. And, again, I don't want kids to feel like they're in charge or they should be the first line of defense with their peers. But these studies that we're referencing, Phil and I, today on this podcast, they're also reporting that of these kids who do report that they're feeling depressed or anxious, most of them are reaching out to their peers first before they even reach out to a teacher or a parent or any other adult in their life. So I think it is important to empower kids with tools, because as it turns out, the kids are talking to kids first. So if we can give our youth some tools that they know how to react to someone who is acting unusual or straight up asks for help. So I think that's a good window that we have here. Yes, the coaches aren't really seeing the kids anymore. The teachers aren't really seeing the kids anymore. Even on the Zoom calls, 90% of those kids have their camera off and their microphone off. They could be doing anything. And I mean, I can tell you they are. YouTube has got to be getting lots of traffic these days. But again, if we can see from the data that kids are reaching out to kids, well, maybe that's our window right there. Then maybe we can educate and inform our youth about tools they can use, conversations they can have, ways they can approach somebody that they think might be feeling a little bit off or acting a little bit weird. So I think that's kind of our window into still reaching kids who are depressed and anxious, whether or not these typical avenues are still available to us.
Absolutely. Phil, is this generation of teenagers and younger, do they understand the mental health illness? Do they understand depression and anxiety? Because like when I was in high school, we didn't have classes like that. And it was kind of, I wouldn't say shunned, but you didn't talk about it. Is this generation more open about the discussion?
They are definitely much more open about the discussion. We see groups forming in high schools back when we were forming groups in high schools, specifically around these topics, support groups. Like Angela said, more often than not, kids are going to reach out to their peers. In fact, in the studies that she was talking about, it's like more than half students reported that somebody reached out to them, and almost half of them reported actually reaching out to somebody. So they're able to talk to each other. So what did your therapist say? Oh, what kind of medication are you taking? Or, what side effect are you having? Kids are much more open to that. Whereas, like you said, once upon a time, it was a dirty, dark secret that we hid away in a closet and no one talked about it. Now we've got, entire formats and forums, but it's still difficult. It's still a difficult conversation to have with someone. Are you doing okay? We've got a public service campaign going on right now called Seize the Awkward. And what we talk about there is taking an awkward moment, asking that awkward question, not just to ask someone, are you thinking about harming yourself? You go so far as to ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about taking your own life? And people would say how awkward a question that would be to ask somebody. And what we say is, wouldn't you rather seize that awkward moment than have that question need to be asked and no one asked it?
Yeah, that Seize the Awkward is available, and I highly recommend that parents who may be listening to this podcast, either check it out themselves or point their teens or preteens or young people to it. It's a great program that was done in cooperation with the JED Foundation and the Ad Council. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. SeizeTheAwkward.com. SeizeTheAwkward.com couldn't be easier to remember. We even did a collaboration with Billie Eilish last year that won the Shorty Award. Again, all of those videos are archived and available. And that Billie Eilish one went a long way, got a lot of traffic out of the younger crowd. Boy, she's so popular with my guys here for sure. But it is they're little short videos. They're kind of like role-playing scenarios where it's like people act out, and they're all kind of famous influencers who are doing sort of the acting out of the scenes. And so I don't recognize these people. Mo probably would recognize these people. My kids recognize these people. But it's great for this age set because it's like, well, this is an actual vignette that they can watch, and it's people that they know, people that look like them, people that don't talk uncool, that are kind of acting out these real life scenarios about, what would I do? This would be so weird. How would I ask my friend this? Well, you can watch this video or several, or watch Billie Eilish talking about it. And then you kind of are like, I think I could do that. Maybe I could talk to my friend about that tomorrow when he's acting weird again, or whatever the case may be. So.
That really is a gateway for these kids to be having conversations, and just to open up that door. And so many of them will say, well, I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, that's okay. You're listening. They don't realize how important that simple piece is, just to have someone there to listen.
Right. There is that fear, like, well, I'm not a mental health professional. Maybe I shouldn't even start this conversation, like with my kid or with my friend. But you don't have to be. That's a great thing about just opening up a conversation. You don't have to be a professional. All you have to do is just show an interest and get them talking, and just be there for them, because then they know that there's somebody there that isn't going to judge, that will listen, and you can say, I'll help you find help. What can we do? It's more of a we than an all by yourself isolated feeling. It's like, wow, somebody, and even if they get mad at you, and people say this, if I ask that's my friend if they're going to kill themselves. They'll never be my friend again. That's it. I'm going to lose my friend, right? Like they're going to think that, I'm out of it and then we're never going to be friends again or whatever. Well, that's probably not the case. I can understand that that's a fear, but just think, if you know somebody cares about you that much to ask that, even if you're not ready to share at that time, that's a safe pathway. That's a safe person that you can go to later, maybe if you do feel that way. And somebody who's really, really feeling that way may react with anger, as I think we've all experienced in our lives, all of us. As I know each of your losses and each of your work a little bit more intimately than maybe our audience, we've all seen that anger, that just severe anger. And that is what is sort of masquerading that deep depression and just that crisis moment. So you have to be able to push past those really uncomfortable, angry feelings sometimes too. But then when that anger subsides, what have you done? You've just shown that person that you're there for them. They know that's a safe place to go back to when they're ready, for example. So it may be an uncomfortable conversation, but I think it's worth it to have. Absolutely.
And
that's the response that frequently comes up too, that Angela mentioned, is that idea of, I'm afraid I'm going to lose their friendship, or I'm afraid they're not going to get angry, or they are going to get angry with me, or they're not going to like me. And it's like, well, how much do you care about that person? And that's how much are you willing to risk to help them? And so usually the answer is everything. And it's like, well, there you go. That's your answer.
Right.
Yeah. Now, we're talking about opening up to peers and individuals trying to find that safe space. What if you're a parent who is worried and concerned about their child, maybe has attempted to try to open up, but for whatever reason, their child is not opening up to them? Phil, do you have any recommendations from there?
I usually tell parents they may ask that same question 99 times, ask the 100th time, because it might be the 100th time that you get some kind of an answer that you can respond to or something that you can work with. And if you do recognize behavior that is more unusual or out of character for your child and they're not responding to you, then call in a professional, call in a consult, call in somebody who knows how to handle these situations. Because again, as a parent, you do everything you can. You want to provide everything you can for your children. You feed them, you clothe them, you shelter them. But for these mental health issues, there's professionals. And just like I'm a father too, I know that I do not have all the answers. I might have a few, initials behind my name, but I know that when I need to reach out for help, that there are others out there who can help, even someone like me.
Absolutely. Angela, anything you want to add as a parent who tries to get kids to open up?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's such a parental, we always want to try to fix something, right? It's just it's like, my homework is terrible and I never see my friends and I'm never going to get out of this basement. And you want to say, well, here's the answer. Yes, you are going to get out of the basement. You want to start giving answers. Well, the vaccine is coming. Well, this, well, that. I don't really think that when someone is venting to you like that, and particularly a teen, they want your answer. They don't really want your answer. I mean, if they thought about it long enough, they know we'll get out of the basement eventually. They'll see their friends again eventually. They're really just telling you how they're feeling. And it's probably better just to like reflectively listen rather than try to fix. Well, I told you if you just got up 30 minutes earlier, you could get that homework done. It's like, wow, that really sucks. You didn't get your homework done. Is there anything I can do to help? Maybe just, reflectively listen and just say, what would you like from me? Ask them, what would you like from me? What do you need from me right now? But I'm not definitely very good at this. So this is something I'm not telling you that I'm the expert or perfect at this. I like to fix problems too. I think parents just want to fix, they want to fix the problems. And just knowing that sometimes when your kids are grumbling, they're not looking for you that they're going to shut down again if you start giving them too much information. I don't want to know that I should have got up 30 minutes earlier, Mom. Okay, I actually know that. I'm telling you that I'm stuck right now, and I'm probably going to be up late because I still have this paper to do. Like, that's really what they're saying, I think. So it's my 2 cents. That's the way I look at it. I'm not perfect at it, though.
There are few of us are, and it is a good point that when you bring up that, that idea that you want to have that conversation, but you don't want to push it. But like I said, the most important thing is to acknowledge the feelings that they're sharing. You may not agree with them, you may not like them. In fact, as a parent, it's tough to see when your kid's hurting or frustrated or anxious or suffering in some way. And so there is that natural inclination, that knee-jerk reaction to jump in and fix it. And sometimes what they just need for us to do is listen to them. And sometimes that's enough. And sometimes it's listening to them to take them to that next level of whatever that help may be or what it might look like. We're not expected, there's no manuals that come with these little guys in the birthing station we're learning too, and we're human. We're going to make mistakes, but it's our example that we show them. What do we do when we're in trouble? What do we do when we need help? Do we reach out or do we close down? That's the example that they're going to follow and pay most attention to.
I was actually just going to say that setting the right example is so important. And now they see almost only and exclusively us. They're around us more than ever. So what kind of example are we setting? Are we shutting down? Are we not dealing with or what kind of model are we providing? So now it's like they don't have many other things to look at, and that many other people to be around. So we should really be focusing on just setting a good example and doing good modeling. I think they don't have any other mentors around them right now, really, in real life. So it's us.
I think if you're a parent watching this right now, we know you're trying your best. You're trying your best. Just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Again, nobody has all the answers, and I hate to say it, but it needs to be said out loud. This isn't going away anytime soon. Even if schools reopen and everybody, nationally, and everybody goes back, there's still going to be awkwardness. There's going to now be some social stunting. People don't know how to interact with one another in person. So this is still going to see some lasting effects. I think, Phil, you're ready for this, hopefully.
Yeah, it definitely is something. You're right. And so many kids, it wasn't just the kids with social phobia who are worrying about it. Now so many kids are worrying just about their general health conditions that are going back to school. Almost 3/4 of them report, some hesitation or worry about the fact that they are going back into a school environment. But you're right, especially when we look at the younger set, even at the high school, the adolescents, that socialization piece that's been taken away and re-socializing into some semblance of normalcy. Like you said, we know this isn't going to change instantaneously, even though we've got the vaccine coming out now and we're continuing to take steps forward. We know that we're not done with this, and so there is going to be some more fallout. We're seeing the kind of what we've called the second wave of mental health as more and more kids come out seeking help, seeking support, because it's like, this is still going on. I'm not seeing an end in sight. And it is unprecedented times. It is unprecedented behavior. And so we need to be open to listening to what they have and to slowly start re-engaging them back into that process and showing our own patience. Because as adults, teachers, administrators, instructors, they're going to be going through the same thing because they've never been through this before either.
Right.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that too, that when they do go back to the building, I really feel like, and I've actually been reading some articles about this as well, they're going to have to go back to, for example, my son has never been to the high school, not even once. He doesn't know where his locker is. He started his freshman year of high school from home. My middle schooler has never been to the middle school. He started middle school. They're going to really have to just take it back, like to what it would have been those first 2 to 3 weeks in September, late August, September, and just orient kids and get them used to the building and get them used to the routine of the school. Even kids like that are sophomores, juniors, seniors, they haven't been to school in 9 months. It's going to take a lot of reorienting. And I hope that administrators and teaching professionals really take into account that maybe the focus when they go back needs to be just, getting comfortably reacquainted with the school routine, with socializing, with making it to class on time. There's going to be a whole, to me, it seems like there's going to be a whole array of more like social emotional needs than they can just jump right into the academic work that they left behind in the basement. I think there's going to have to be a big transition period. That's my feeling of how they'll probably handle it. And I hope they'll handle it that way, because I don't think you can just show up at school as if nothing had happened these last 9 months.
Yeah, no big deal. It happened. We're good now. Everything's great.
We'll have that quiz on Friday like we planned. But it's going to be at school, which you've never been to. Good luck.
Yeah. These are crazy times. That's for sure. Nobody has the answers. Everybody's doing their best, but just ask a lot of questions. If you think somebody is hurting, go ahead. Just ask them. Have that awkward conversation if you need to, because it does show you care. Phil, before we wrap this up, you have any final thoughts, advice, or anything you want to bring up?
Well, I think you said it well there, Mo. Just ask. You never want to not ask. You never want to walk away thinking, they didn't seem themselves. I wish I would have said something. They may not be ready to share it with you, but you may be planting the seed that they'll share it with somebody. So you may not be the one that takes them all the way on the journey, but you may be the one who opens the door for them to start walking down that path to to hopefully some healthiness and some wholeness.
Yeah, and this could be new to many of our children and the teenagers out there. Like I myself, I've been suffering from depression for decades, and there are still times I don't realize I'm in a bout until somebody points it out to me. And this is somebody who knows the signs to look for. So these younger generations that need our help, ask questions. Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. Angela, is there any websites that you recommend anybody go check out for more information?
Definitely that sees the awkward, that sees the awkward.com is a great place to find all those videos and those little tips. And then we also have Real Convo, and that's tips for starting a real conversation. That's just afsp.org/real convo, all one word, real convo. And that's tips for anybody, not just, younger generation, but anybody just to start what could be an awkward conversation. So I would say Seize the Awkward and Real Convo are your two websites that you're going to want to hit up if you are looking for some tools just in your daily life that you can use to start conversations and reach out to people that you are a bit worried about.
Absolutely. Angela, of course, thank you for your time. Phil, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for doing the series too.
Yes. And next week, You Matter IL going to focus on seasonal depression. So again, something for everyone here on You Matter. Thanks for checking out the show today.